Well, greetings, St. Mark friends and family. We are so very excited to be in this season of adult education and of beginning to do some anti-racism work. We have Nancy Snell with us today to talk a little bit about Just Mercy. Over the past few months, as we as a country and as a Mount Prospect as a community have been living through a time of social transformation. We've been asking a question of what books we might be able to read, what conversations should we be having to make the most of this moment, to hear how God is calling us in this moment. And as we ask those questions, Nancy brought up the book and the movie Just Mercy. And so she's here to talk a little bit about that and why that has been important for her in these last few months. And so, Nancy, we're so glad to have you.
Well, thank you. It's good to be with you. Yeah, I was just delighted when I got the message from Deacon Dave that we were going to be emphasizing anti-racism, and I had just recently watched the movie Just Mercy. And it's a true story that takes place about 30 years ago, or took place about 30 years ago, and I was really moved by it. And then later, I watched in real time, now 30 years later, George Floyd, the incident, an African-American under the knee of a white police officer. And I just was blown away with those two incidences, just the book, the story in the book, and then that, and how little progress we have made in the last 30 years. And I thought, I'm moved to do something. I'm moved to do something other than, there's a little flare for a while, things will be changed, and we change Aunt Jemima on the syrup bottle, and we think we've done a great thing, and we've really done nothing. And so, I am about now, what can I do to help progress to be made to both equality and justice in our judicial system that's fair. So the story in Just Mercy, which is both, as Dave said, both a book and a movie, is by Bryan Stevenson. He is the author. He is the attorney who was the defender of a convicted felon, a convicted murderer. I'm sorry, and he clearly was innocent, but he was incarcerated. He was found guilty. He was on death row. And then Bryan Stevenson got involved and defended him and proved his innocence. And it's just such a riveting story that I felt like maybe somebody else besides me would be moved to really want to do something. And if we can help through our ministry at St. Mark to do that, fine. If we do it individually, fine. But I think people are ready, at least I am, to have something happen other than having, we march and we peacefully march and we riot and we loot and we do all these things that don't necessarily turn into the good that we want done.
Yeah, so both knowing you and your ministry and your values, and also, of course, knowing the spirit of Mount Prospect and kind of the values of St. Mark as well. This book and the movie itself really capture this, like you say, this work we want to do to be a stronger community, to be a more equitable community. To be a place where neighbors and friends, as well as people moving into our community, are part of just a much brighter future and a much stronger place. So I'm really excited to see, like you say, how this riveting story and these lives, both Bryan Stevenson is just an extraordinary storyteller. and a person of values and virtues too, and it just kind of comes out of him. And so, both in his writing and in his speaking, and then in the movie, as you say, that movie is just such a great moment of storytelling that gets you excited to do something. And so,
and the movie is so well done. Michael B. Jordan plays Brian Stevenson in the movie, the lawyer.
Yeah.
And Jamie Foxx plays Walter McMillan, who is the convicted murderer.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very, very well done. One thing that really stood out to me, and this wasn't actually in the movie, but it was as I was kind of fooling around on the internet and doing a little research on Brian Stevenson, he made the comment that his experience has shown, and it's proven, that with our justice system, innocent, poor people of color are more likely to be incarcerated than the financially well-off, guilty white people. And that's just astounding to me, that if color outweighs guilt or innocence as the deciding factor of who gets incarcerated and who isn't, there's something really, really wrong with our system. And so, that we can't change the system, but we can hopefully be part of a process that can make that change happen. Whatever that is, but it has to start with a discussion. It starts with a book. It starts with a movie. Both, I haven't read the book, but I have seen the movie. But I know the book. I know they follow very, very closely. In fact, word for word. So, but something that's an interesting thing to watch or to read, and then a discussion that follows, and maybe we can make something happen in and through St. Mark that will really be for the good of, as Deacon David said, is the good of our community, the good of our church, and the good of all people.
I can't thank you enough for bringing this to our kind of to the forefront of our conversation, and to our work together as a faith community. And I'm just really excited to hear both your perspective and your thoughts on this subject, as well as to hear everybody else's when we kind of gather, and as we kind of continue to talk about this. If you can be there that night to be a part of this, we have a watch party planned. So you'll receive information about when you can watch the movie with us over the computer. Or maybe you've already watched it, or maybe you've already read the book and you just want to join us then Tuesday, August 25th at 7:00 for that moment of conversation about the book and the movie. But again, just to have this story enter into kind of our larger conversation about what it means to be members of St. Mark, what it means to be followers of Jesus, I think is going to be a really rich conversation and a moment for us to then think about how it is that we answer the call to change the world and to be a part of a new community here in Mount Prospect that continues to grow and thrive, and as we believe, answer God's call to be a good neighbor. Nancy, to have the final word.
Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody who's listening in a little square on my computer on Tuesday night, the 25th, and we can all share our thoughts about this book and this movie.
Amen.
All right.